and welcome to Meet Your Inspiration podcast with Meri and Rich. Here we're talking about inspiration, motivation, and empowerment. Our guests are ordinary people who became extraordinary, and we're sharing their stories. We want to empower you to become the person you want to be and to go beyond your dreams.
This morning we've got a lovely guest, Kathy Hayman. Kathy, welcome this morning. It's great to have you with us. Kathy runs a small business called Conscious Living. It's an app which you can download for your phone, and she's going to tell the story all about it a little bit later. Kathy, thank you very much for joining us this morning. It's a great privilege.
I'm really excited to be here.
Oh, fantastic.
Shall we do a little
background?
Yes, introduction, how
we met.
I think.
Okay. Yes.
Actually, it's again like most of the time, Meri and Rich meet their people. This is ZC Live.
ZC Live this time, yeah.
And Kathy had a little speech there.
I did.
She was on stage.
While you were talking, we just look at each other and we were like, we just talk with eyes. We don't need much. And after that we came. We are very touched, inspired by your story, which, it was with ups and downs, but a real story. And we came, we met you. And 6 months later, or kind of.
Here we are.
And it was quite nice because I've seen you on a few events as well.
Yeah, we bump into each other at different places, don't we?
Exactly, which is good.
And really looking forward to learn much more about you and what you're doing. So,
cool.
Take us back wherever you want to start, but just
right at the
like beginning of the career journey.
Okay. So I come from a very humble working class family. Uni was never on the cards in my day back then. And I left school and went to secretarial college. Didn't know what I wanted to do. Go and train to be a secretary. And I learned to type on one of those old-fashioned typewriters. That went like that.
Fantastic.
That shows my age, doesn't it? So when I finished my A levels and my secretarial training, I went out to apply for jobs. And my uncle at the time worked for a company called Stanley Gibbons. If you've ever heard of them, they're stamp collecting people.
Yes, yeah.
And I went to work there for 6 months while I was deciding where I wanted to go and looking for jobs. Oh, it was so boring. great if you're into stamps, but it wasn't my thing. Anyway, I applied for jobs, and in the same week, I got offered secretarial positions at Citibank, the BBC, and British Airways.
Oh, wow, what a choice. Hello.
And, I look back now and I think, real sliding doors moment, really. If I'd have chosen one of the others, where would I be now? But would that path have brought me to here anyway?
Yeah.
It's like, we'll never know, but, And I have to say, I took the job at Citibank, one, because it was easy to get to, but because my parents said to me, you go for the one that gives you the highest salary and the best benefits. And,
they are the best.
And that's what I did. Would I have made a different choice if I'd got that choice now? I don't know. Anyway, I went to work for Citibank as a secretary, and it was back in a long time ago, and it was a good place to work. They looked after their staff. We had really good benefits, and I met some amazing people. I had a really good time.
Was that in the city? Did you go into the city?
So I was in their offices in the Strand.
Oh, okay, wow.
At the time,
right, okay.
So we go back
right in the centre.
Yeah, right in the middle. So, and I was one of those people that was always late to work, and flexible hours were not a thing back then. I didn't mind working late, but I was not good in the mornings.
Is that the train?
And I'd get off at Charing Cross and I'd be running up the Strand in my heels, going to be late, and skidded in the door, Anyway, that's a whole other story.
That sounds like something out of a film.
It really was. I can picture it now. And I had, good couple of years working as a secretary in the oil and mining department. And it was really good. And then when I was 23, my boyfriend was killed in an accident.
Oh, wow.
And it kind of shook my world a bit, really.
I bet it did, yeah.
And it was my first experience of death, really, I suppose 23 is fairly young to
It is,
to
it's
go
very
through that.
young and very sensitive as well at that point.
Yeah. And I kind of was like, I need to do something else. And I applied for a job in Citibank, working in the training centre. And that was in Lewisham.
Okay.
They've got that huge, well, they haven't anymore, they had a huge building. which I've abseiled off. That was fun. Enjoyed that.
You're not afraid of heights then?
No, but I've got to tell you, stepping off a 19th floor building backwards was quite scary.
Yeah, that's a long
way down.
And
then
I
got to the bottom and went, that was great. Can I do it again, please? Anyway, I went to work in the training centre, and I worked for the guy that trained the traders. So it was, foreign exchange, money market traders. So any new graduate that came into that area, they came to us first to be trained. And I was really lucky to be in a position at that time where Citibank bought a piece of software and we're going back a long time before we really had, computers and stuff in the way that we do now.
Yeah.
But they bought this revolutionary bit of software which enabled us to teach these new graduates how to trade without doing it live. So they were protecting the bank's money.
Yeah.
And my boss and I were the only people in the whole of Citibank in the world trained in how to use this software.
Gosh, wow.
Which was bizarre, really. So I then spent the next 5 years travelling all over the world, training graduates and also training trainers. So we'd go to New York and train some people there so that they could do it. And we went to Singapore and we went all over the place. And it came at the right time for me.
Yeah.
And I had a ball.
So you were 23, 24?
Yeah, 23.
Travelling the world. Yeah. Amazing. Isn't that cool?
Now, it sounds really glamorous, but actually you spend most of your time on a plane, in a hotel, in a conference room, meeting room, whatever. Yeah. Don't get me wrong, I did have some really good times. And on one of the trips, they asked me to do a round-the-world trip and lose myself in places on the way, because when you have a round-the-world trip, you have to keep going.
Yeah.
So it's like, right, we've got a gap there. So I went to Jamaica on holiday, and so I did have some fun along the way, and I met some amazing people, and I loved it. And it was.
Did you travel on your own really at that point?
Sometimes, and sometimes with my boss.
Yeah.
And then I got to the point where I got a call to say, "Can you go to Singapore in the next couple of days because they've got a problem and they need you to come?" And I didn't want to go. And I was like, oh. And I was living out of this suitcase, and having a great time. And in between the travel, we were also running training courses in the UK or in Europe. So I would liaise with what were then called venue finding companies, whose job was to find the venues for you to go and run these events. And I built a good relationship with the people that I worked with. So I was away a lot at home as well. And I suddenly woke up one day and thought, I want to do that. I'm going to go and start my own business. And I did. I just left the bank and started this event management business.
Wow.
But you start your own. You didn't work for someone.
No, I started my own.
Yeah.
And when I look back, I was 28 and it was like, this is crazy. Like, why did I do that? But I just did. And I had no clients. I had no clue about business. And I was just like,
you had passion.
I'm going to do this.
Yeah.
And the first client I picked up was a company called Kleinwort Benson. They're not around now, but they were quite big in the city at the time. Right. And they started to give me things to do and, find venues for different things.
How did you find them in the first place? Or did you just know them? No? Oh, really?
Just
yeah.
on the phone.
Oh, yeah. Just phone them up. Just say hi. I'm Kathy and I'm doing event management. Would you be interested? I can organise wherever you want to go.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Mad, really.
It's a brave world.
But it just evolved from there. And long story short, spent the next 17 years running that business. And so at that time I met the guy that was to become my husband, and he worked at Citibank. We didn't know each other when we were both there.
Amazing.
We met after I'd left, and a couple of years into me running the business, he was made redundant from Citibank. They had a big shake up there, and he was made redundant and didn't really know what he wanted to do because he'd been there for 25 years from school. So he came into the business with me and we ran it together. And by the time it finished, we'd got 9 staff and a couple of offices, and it was going really well. Some really big clients, but a lot of them were American businesses, Merrill Lynch. And
yeah. So were you still travelling as well then in those days? You travelled a bit for organising these events?
Yes.
So you
Good.
organize events even in America? You're going to go to organize them, or what they coming here?
They might be coming here or going anywhere. So just to give you an example, worked for a company, a UK company actually, that were medical writers. And they were part of a massive conference medical conference that took place in Acapulco.
Wow.
So they were inviting 50 doctors to come as part of this huge conference, and they were having their own little meetings with them. And we organised all of that, and I went to Acapulco for a week. So,
So you had to find a venue and organise everything.
Venue, organise
all the hotel
travel
rooms
for all of these people from all over the world, events while they were there, taking them out on excursions, looking after their wives while they were at the conferences.
No way! Wow.
Yeah. Pfizer, a big company that used to be here in Kent.
Yeah, it
we
did. Yeah,
did loads of work with them.
They were down in Sandwich.
So they were. That's right. Yeah. So it was great, and in that time, through medical problems, I'd been told I probably would never have any children. And suddenly I was pregnant. And 13 months later, I had my son.
Wow, that's amazing.
I had 2 kids in 13 months. Didn't expect that, but, it was a blessing, and I'm so glad that happened. And, so I was bringing up 2 small children, running the event management business with my husband. And, it was good.
And did that work really well as a good dynamic in terms of when you were working together? Obviously, there's always a moment of tension, I would imagine.
We're divorced now, so...
okay. Right, okay.
Yeah, but it's part of...
Yeah, I mean, the thing about it is we are very, very different people, and Martin looked after the whole of the wages, the VAT returns, the running of the business, really. And I just got on with
the job,
running the team and the job itself, So it did work quite well. And then 9/11 happened.
Okay.
And within 3 months, we knew the writing was on the wall.
Really?
Absolutely swiped the floor with us.
Because of the travel situation.
Yeah. And back then, we didn't have Zoom.
No.
Or any of those things.
No. So you needed to travel.
Yes. And the day I made 8 of our staff redundant was one of the worst days of my life.
Wow. So what specifically about that event? Was it the fact that not travelling backwards and forwards to the US? Was it a lot
of our businesses, our clients travelled, and they just stopped.
And they just didn't want to travel.
They cancelled everything.
So no one wanted to travel.
So didn't want to travel, didn't want to go anywhere. And actually, when I look back, I think a lot of businesses, I think it's like anything like that. COVID's had the same impact.
Yes.
Where it takes people to a place where they reevaluate everything. They start to look at what they're doing and how they're doing it. And I really do think a lot of businesses did that. And to be fair, we did keep some of the business, and Martin and I kept it going with one of our staff and a couple of freelancers for another couple of years. But my heart had gone out of it then, and I was ready for a new challenge, And at that point, things started to not be great between Martin and I, and we ended up splitting up.
Well, I guess it could be quite stressful, isn't it, when the business shrinks and everything's going well, everyone's like really happy.
Yeah.
But the pressure changes on the dynamics completely different.
And then I started to go off and do other things, and that just we drifted apart. And when we split up, it was tough, as it always is. And kids were 12 and 13 at the time, and I stayed in the family home with the kids and took on the whole of the financial responsibility and bringing them up. But after the first couple of years, I worked really hard to maintain a relationship with Martin, and that he maintained it with the kids. Because whatever had gone on between us, he was a brilliant dad. Always has been, still is. And for me, it was really important that we maintained the best relationship we could for the sake of our family dynamic.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I'm really happy to say that we are really good friends.
Yeah, that's nice.
It's been...
Because unfortunately, sometimes in life,
17 years since we split up, and
you're still friends.
Martin spent every Christmas day with us.
Yeah.
I've been with Tom, the guy I'm with now, for 11 years. They're really good friends. They play snooker together. We have family holidays together. And people are like, "You're weird." We are weird, but in a good way.
No, but that's a really nice way to be, isn't it, really? To not have that bitterness or anger in the background.
And you have to work at it. It's not easy, But it's if you focus on what's important and put aside your own sort of feelings in that moment, you can make these things work, you know. And I know that, you know, I could pick the phone up to Martin anytime and he'd be there for me, and vice versa. You know, so,
and that's powerful advice as well to a lot of couples who are split up, because and that's one of the most stressful, difficult times.
Some of my coaching clients that I've had, you know, have gone through similar things, and I think that experience has helped me to help them. You know, so much as it wasn't nice, it was part of the journey. You know, so. At that time, we were still together, and Martin was running the business in its sort of small way at that point. And we'd bought some investment properties in Spain. And I just started chatting to people about these properties. And the next thing I knew, I was working as a freelance salesperson for the company and selling property in Spain.
Wow.
That company turned out to not be very ethical, and I walked away from it.
But you enjoyed that, though?
I did, I loved it. Yeah. And then another guy that I'd met through, I can't even remember where I met Mark. Anyway, he came to me and he said, me and a couple of friends want to set up a property business in Cyprus, and we want to develop high-end developments and sell them off plan. Because of your experience, we'd like to talk to you about it. Long story short, I ended up running the sales side of it for them in the UK.
Amazing.
And we had a brilliant time, in the sense that it was a great time to be selling. And we were working with David Lloyd. He was putting his name to some of the developments, and we sold a lot of off-plan property. It was good times. Then the property market, the mortgage market, the floor fell.
Was that 2007, 2008 sort of time?
Yeah, absolutely. And where we found ourselves was all of these people that had bought off-plan property with a view to getting a mortgage on it when it completed, couldn't get the mortgages, died a death. Okay, now what will I do?
Because that was like 3 years, really, that happened. And of course, then afterwards, and everyone thought it was the property market was never going to go. And then really from 2012, all the way till almost recently, it's just gone.
Crazy.
Exactly. And crystal balls would be really helpful, wouldn't they?
Yeah, they would, because if you could have gone, well, we could just hold good course for 3 years, and then we're just going to go boom mode.
Yes.
You would have never known, but who knows? We never know. We don't know what where we are now. It's
the guys
crazy.
Folded the business up, and you know, so that was that. And at that time, just as that was all happening, Martin and I divorced, and I was personally in a really bad place. I was brought up in a very strict, born-again Christian family, very different to the rest of my family. And I'd walked away from that when I was 18 because I just didn't fit with me, and it was just too constrained and restricted, and I didn't want, that wasn't who I was. And loved my parents to bits and really close with them right up until they passed. But we went through a bit of a tricky time, and I suffered for many years with a lot of guilt about having walked away from that, and also fear about what my, you know, eternal future would be because of all of that, you know, way I was brought up. So a lot of that was going on, and I took a lot of stick because Martin and I were divorcing, and a few other things that was going on and what was happening with the business. And I remember going to Cyprus, one of the last times I went, and a friend that I worked with out there, I went to stay with her, and she said to me, "You can't go on like this, you're going to have a nervous breakdown." And she said, "Look, I want to send you to a friend of mine here who does massage and something called Reiki. Don't know what that is, but, you know, neither did I." She said, "I'm going to treat you. Go and have a session with Rosemary." So off I went, and I had this session, and I cried through the whole thing. And I don't know where it all came from. And it literally was like, and when we finished, she said to me, "You needed that." She said, "Your heart is breaking, and you need some help with this." So now I would love to help you, but, you know, you're going home tomorrow. So she said, "Look, I've got a friend in the UK who I think could really help you." She said, "But obviously I don't know whether you're near each other." Turns out she was in Wateringbury, which was the next village from where I live.
No.
From whole UK.
Wow. That's incredible, isn't it?
Cool.
So I came back.
Coincidence.
I mean, serendipity, really. You know,
Yeah,
it's just like it was so meant to be.
Yeah. Definitely.
And Lynn was amazing. She was a counsellor coach, and she started me on a journey that changed my life. And it was me, instead of feeling like the victim of my own life and blaming everything that was happening in my life on everything and everybody else, she helped me to realise that my life's my life, and it's up to me how I view it and how I deal with it. And, you know, I've got to take back control of my life. And I worked with her for about 18 months. And I remember when I stopped working with her, she said to me, I had never had a client come to me who was so desperate to make a change in their life and was willing to do whatever it took to make that happen. And I hadn't really realised that myself, but she'd seen that in me. And I'm an avid reader. I love to read. And she had this whole library of books, and I worked my way through it in the time that we were coaching.
A lot of self-help type of books. Yeah,
self-help, self-development. And really, I really found myself, and I found a peace with who I am and what my faith and belief is that was completely different to what I was brought up with, but it felt good to me. And it helped me to, much as, you know, it's very different to what my parents believed, it meant that I actually could use the skills and the things I learned to make my relationship with my family better, even though I wasn't in their camp anymore, you know. And that was really, really powerful. And my relationship with my mum and dad, like I say, was amazing. And you know, my kids had a really good relationship with them, and it was great. So
I think there's probably a synergy, though, isn't there, between probably like teaching in the Bible and sometimes sort of the self-help sort of teaching. That there's quite a lot of overflow.
There is,
which people don't even realise.
They don't realise it.
They don't realise the depth of the transition between the two.
Yeah.
Everyone goes, oh, well, that's, you know, and actually there are certain bits you could probably read in the Bible that actually override it, and you go, oh, hold on a minute, that's the same.
Absolutely. And it's been a real journey for me to say, I don't have to say that's all bad and I don't want it. I can actually take from that, you know, the things that still resonate with me and mix it up and be who I am. And that started me on a journey that, you know, has been ongoing and will be forever.
Yeah, exactly.
That was really quite pivotal for me. So I went from there to, I worked as a consultant with a friend of mine who ran a franchise business back in the trading world. So gone back in a bit of a circle here.
Yeah.
And throughout that time, whenever an event needed to be run with anybody I ever worked with, it was me that ended up organising it, because I loved event management. It was amazing. So did that, and then she left that franchise business, and the two of us, another guy, started another franchise business, which was to do with gamification at meetings. So there I am back in the events world again, but on the other side of the fence, and running gamification side.
What do you mean by that?
So it was a really interesting piece of software, which now, I mean, there's loads of things like this, but there wasn't then, going back 14 years probably. So we would take the content of a conference. So they would say, right, this is our topic, this is what we're here for, this, and we would create a game around the topic and run it as an event, and it would all be done through tablets, and we would do Q&A sessions that were, and it was quite really ahead of its time at that point, you know.
Yeah, amazing.
And that was a really good business. And then there came a point for me where I was just like, you know, I want to help people.
Funny.
I want to help individuals, and I don't know what that looks like. And it was my daughter that said to me, Mum, I've just seen this thing, the Coaching Academy do a free weekend course where you can go and see whether coaching's for you. She said, you coached me and my friends throughout the whole of our teenage life. She said, I think you'd be really good at it. Why don't you go? So, you know what? I think I will. And I went on that weekend, and that was me sold. I was like, that's what I want to do. I want to be a coach. So I trained with the Coaching Academy, and finished that and then did my NLP training, Neuro-Linguistic Programming, which was absolutely a game changer for me personally and my whole interactions with everybody and then with my coaching clients. And I absolutely loved it. And the whole thing about how our minds work and how our language impacts on how we experience life. And I just loved it. Other time again, I'd go and...
Because the art of communication is such a vital thing, isn't it?
Absolutely. And it isn't just communicate with other people, it's how we communicate with ourselves.
Where everything starts.
Yeah. Our self-talk and all of those things. Yeah. So I qualified in 2018 and I was still doing the other thing, but I was picking up coaching clients and just, thinking that was going to be my path. And then in 2019, my dad had started to get dementia and my mum was quite seriously ill. And she got rushed into hospital at the same time as Tom's mum, my partner, got rushed into hospital. One of them was in Brighton and one of them was in London. Didn't know where we were. His mum was diagnosed with 2 acoustic neuromas, like brain tumours of your ears, which thankfully she's still with us and she manages life, and but that was quite difficult. Yeah. And in December, my mum was in hospital in London. They let her home for Christmas, and then she went into a local hospital in January, and I was with her for the last 10 days of her life. She passed away. So all of that was kind of going on, and then 2 weeks after she passed, I got rushed to hospital in the middle of the night with a perforated colon.
Oh, my word.
And I didn't even know I was ill. I didn't know there was anything wrong with me. And I was in hospital for a week, quite seriously ill. They didn't know whether they were going to have to operate, but thankfully it healed itself up.
Good.
And I missed my mum's funeral because I was too seriously ill to leave the hospital. So that happened. And then we came out of that and we went into COVID, which obviously was, everybody's challenge. Tom and I were due to go on holiday, and 2 days before we were going, it got cancelled. I'm like, we were going to the Maldives. It's like,
oh no! Well, that's just like devastation.
Dream time holiday.
Yeah, exactly.
Then I got COVID, and I was really early on, and I wasn't really seriously ill with it at the time, but it messed with my head. And whether it was long COVID or not, I don't know. And I felt it was really a real struggle for me for months to function properly. Thankfully, I am surrounded by, I've got my friends are amazing. Where would we be without our friends?
Exactly.
And I have lots of friends around me, and a lot of them are holistic therapists. And they were chucking all sorts of things at me, vitamins and supplements and healing and Reiki and this, that and the other. And I got through it, and and it was fine. And at that time, I met Amanda, who became my business partner. And she was a coach, and she contacted me and said, I think you're a coach. We'd actually met in the chiropractors. She said, I think you're a coach and I'd really like to have a chat with you. And we ended up becoming accountability buddies.
Yeah.
And then it kind of just developed from there. And what we recognised was that we had a very similar approach to life. Very different people, but a very similar approach to life and to coaching and whatever. And we decided that we wanted to get all of the stuff that we have learned and experienced and shared with other people out to the world in a bigger way. So we created Conscious Living Coaches, and the idea around it was that we would create an app so that we could share everything that we do with a wider audience. It would also give us a much more scalable business. So coaching's fantastic and I love it and still do it, but it is, you're swapping time for money. So with the app, you're reaching a much bigger audience, and you create it once and it goes out to a bigger audience.
Yeah, it could go out to millions almost.
Yeah. And also wanted to give new coaches, young coaches, an opportunity to come into that business and potentially pick up clients from it so that we could support them as well. Because part of my own coaching client journey had been coaching solo entrepreneurs, new coaches, that kind of thing. So that's what we decided to do. And we thought, right, we can do this ourselves. We went and we signed up with this platform and we're going to build this app ourselves. Very quickly realised that was a silly idea. That wasn't going to work.
Knowledge required is in depth.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And we just didn't have the skills for it, you know.
Escape to luxury at Hempstead House Hotel and Spa, an elegant country house hotel in Bapchild, near Sittingbourne, Kent. Relax with indulgent spa treatments. Dine in style with exquisite cuisine. Perfect for getaways, weddings and events. Experience luxury in the heart of Kent. Book your stay today.
Be the first to discover Kent's best events all in one free app. What's On in Kent is a new and rapidly growing app where you can find days out information, places to eat, festivals, concerts, markets, and much more around you. Just with few clicks on your phone or computer, you can stay updated with real-time info and explore events across Kent. Don't even think twice. Just download. It's free.
Yeah, so in March 2023, we decided we needed to find someone to help us with this. And we found this local business. They were actually recommended to us. And they did marketing and websites and branding and that kind of thing. And we initially went to talk to them about that. And they said, we think we could do your app for you. We've done apps for other people. We think we could do yours. And at that point, we thought, you know what? Keeping it all under one umbrella could be a really good thing to do. So
really powerful,
why don't we do that? So we agreed a pretty hefty monthly retainer with them for them to do everything. And they said to us, you'll have your app by July. It's March 23. July came and they said, we've had a problem and the platform that we've been building it on, we now realise is not going to work. So we need to take what we've done and move it to a different platform. We won't lose it, but we need to do that. Okay. You'll have it by September.
Okay.
September came and the guy in the business that was working on it became unwell. He wasn't there for a bit. Anyway, long story short, the weeks and the months went by and we got to Christmas and I'm like, this is really like not good now.
Yes, this is really stressful.
And Amanda and I had reined back on our coaching clients. And you look back and go, should I have done that? Because we were focused solely on creating the content so that as soon as the platform was ready, we'd got all the content to go, whoop,
push it all on. Yeah.
And it got to the point where they said to us, right, it's all ready to go. We've now got to wait for the stores, you know, the App Store and the Google Store, to be able to authorise it. And that's out of our control. We don't know how long it's going to take. Right, okay. And
was that a fact?
Half true.
Okay.
Yeah. There can be issues, but there doesn't have to be. Okay. Anyway, we got to February and the guy that was dealing with it went off to Thailand for 6 weeks, said he was going to be working while he was there, and he disappeared. And we're kind of like talking to the owner of the business saying to her, look, this has got to stop, you know, like it's been a year and
you haven't delivered anything.
And he came back from Thailand and she told us that he had disappeared in the UK and that she had decided to close the business. Her husband had his own business and was working a lot in Washington. So she was going to close the business and move to Washington with her husband.
And everything you'd put into that and paid
and
them.
She'd got no money to give us back. So everything we'd spent had gone. And everything that he had done,
they couldn't give you what was done.
Well, she said, Matt's got it. I've got no access to it. It's like, he worked for you. How do you not have this stuff?
Yeah.
And this was a really funny story. So through a circuitous route, we found out where he lived. He lived with his parents and young guy, really nice guy. We went and knocked on his door and his mum answered the door. I was like, can we speak to Matt, please? And he came down and he was a wreck. I mean, bless his heart. He was in such a state. And we're like, Matt, we are not here to give you any trouble at all. We just want what's ours.
Yeah, just
we want what you've given us or what you have done so that we can take it and give it to someone else. We don't want you to do any more with it. We just want to take it and go. And to be fair, he gave us everything.
Okay.
But in the conversation with him, he told us that he had told the boss the previous July, I can't do this. This is far greater than I've done before.
Okay.
I don't have the skills and the expertise. I can't do it. And she told him, find a way.
Okay.
And he literally had a nervous breakdown over it. I mean, I felt really sorry for him.
Yeah, bless.
And she'd stopped paying him, and
Oh my word! Wow.
So
obviously, everything again behind the scene got a kind of reason, but you never know.
No.
So at
we
least you saved
some.
He gave us what he'd given, what he'd got, and we're like, right, we need to find another route. And we contacted 5 other developers, and we went out to people that just develop apps. It's like, we're not going to mess about now, we're going to do that. And every single one of them looked at it and said, not fit for purpose, can't use it, we'd have to start again.
Oh, what was done?
And the cheapest quote we got was for £60,000.
Wow.
60,000.
And we'd already lost tens of thousands of pounds.
Yeah.
And how you funded all this until then? It was
funded it ourselves.
Wow.
Yeah. I can't tell you how that felt.
No, but I can clearly imagine. Wow.
And it was, we were just like,
on the floor.
What do we do now?
Yeah.
And we had to really draw on our skills and our learnings to get through this, because you might remember from the talk you saw me do at ZC, we've got the 7 principles of conscious living.
Yeah.
And if we just sort of talk about 3 of them, the first thing was that we blamed them, and actually it was their fault.
Yeah.
It wasn't your fault. We might have been able to have stopped the journey earlier than we did if we'd pushed a bit harder. But
you don't know what's going on behind the scenes.
No, and every time we had a meeting with them, every week, they were showing us stuff that we're like, it's moving forward, it's moving forward.
Yeah, you're feeling
you
comfortable.
Believe people. It was all nonsense. It didn't mean anything.
Yeah.
But we knew that we'd got to stop blaming them, because if we kept in that place, we were never going to put it behind us and move forward.
Yeah.
And all the while we blame other people for the situations we're in, we've given our power away.
Yeah.
And we can't move forward. We stay stuck. So we're like, okay, we've got to stop blaming them. Doesn't mean what they did was okay, because it's not. But we've got to go, okay, that's in the past. Can't change it now. How do we move forward? Don't know what it is, but there has to be a way. So that was like the first thing. Second thing was the judgment we gave ourselves, because you can imagine, and we all do this, we all have our little judge that sits on our shoulder.
If only we'd have done this.
If only we'd done this. Why didn't we see this? How stupid were we? Why do we? And it was like, okay, let's have this rant, let's get it out of our systems, and let's stop.
Yep.
Because actually, again, all the while you stay in that place, you're stuck and you can't move forward.
Yep.
And we have to just be kind to ourselves, as we would if somebody was telling us this story and say, you did what you did with what you knew at the time. You do the best with what you've got. And, we can't see why this has happened, but we will. One day we'll look back on this and go, right, okay, that was actually the right thing. It was meant to be that way. And then the other thing was one of our other 7 principles was the no limitations. Because we did sit in a place of going, well, we've got no money now. We've just used all of our savings individually to get this far. And we've got no way of moving forward. We can't afford 60 grand to go and start again. So it's gone. We've lost it. And we had to say to ourselves, okay, there's going to be another way. Or there's going to be something else, because life is like that. It leads us to the next thing.
It does, yeah.
And we've got to just be open to a solution that might come our way, So we decided to give ourselves a couple of weeks off, just tootle about. Did a lot of meditating and walking outside, just trying to breathe again. Oh, and in the midst of all this, I'd had my hip replaced. I'd had an accident I had to have my hip replaced, and that didn't quite go according to plans. So it's still not 100% right, but I was in a lot of pain. So that, that was sort of going on as well. And then my daughter's wife, she discovered that she's got quite a bad condition with her spine, and changed her life. She's not going to be able to live. She's 31. She's not going to be able to live the life she would have wanted to have lived. She's, she's amazing. She's really. In fact, I'll tell you a little story, if I may.
Of course you may.
So she was a gym bunny. She loved going to the gym. And they told her she's not allowed to do the gym anymore. Not allowed to lift anything heavy. She got restricted in what she can do. But they said to her, you need to do physio, and they will tell you what you can do. And they said to her, you need to cycle and you need to swim, because it will strengthen everything and it will give you that support. So she's like, okay. Didn't really like swimming. Hadn't ridden a bike since she was a kid, but was like, okay. Started swimming. And she got a bike, and she got an electric bike, and she's got a helmet on. She's cycling around the car park close to where they live in Tunbridge Wells. And she's right, I'm going out on the road. And Beck said to her, Meri, are you frightened? She went, yes, I'm frightened. But I'm going to ride with fear until I ride without it.
Wow.
That's powerful.
Isn't that? I wrote a blog about that. I was like, oh my God, this is just amazing.
Wow, that's incredible power.
Really?
Yeah,
I was like, you are an inspiration, girl.
That is an inspiration, yeah.
And
definitely.
she's getting on with it, and at the same time, we found out that my stepdaughter's boyfriend, who is also 31, has a heart condition that he's had since he was born that's never been picked up. And it's an actual miracle that he's never dropped dead. And he's just waiting now to have open heart surgery. So that's all
going on in the background.
Going on in the background,
Yeah. So
anyway, in June, we'd been invited to go to a networking event, and we were like, what's the point? We haven't got anything to talk about. But we went. We paid for a ticket. We're going to go. So we went to this event, and the first person I saw when I walked in the door was the lovely Zoe Cairns. Love that girl. And she gave me a hug. How's it going? How's your app? Well, it's not. Told her what had happened. And she was like, oh, I can't believe it. She came up to me a bit later. She said, I can't stop thinking about what's happened to you. She said, I think there might be another way. Would you be willing to sit down with me and have a chat? I was like, oh, yeah. So the following week, we went and met with Zoe, and she said, if you are willing to look at this in a different way and deliver it differently, I think we can do it on a third-party platform that she uses herself. And it's a community platform called School, SKWL, you might be familiar with. And yes, it was different, but it meant that we could get it off the ground.
With very little cost.
Yeah. Very little cost. It's like, only we'd known about that 2 years ago.
Exactly.
Anyway, we were like, okay, let's do this. And Zoe said, right, I want to help you with this. And she's been an amazing mentor to us. She really has.
Amazing
and her team do our social media for us. And she's amazing. So we were due to speak at the Women in Business Big Show in August, and we were exhibiting, and we're like, well, we've got nothing. So he said, right, you've got 6 weeks. If you work hard enough, you could launch this at the Women in Business Big Show. And we did.
Amazing. Fantastic.
And we got it out there. And there's an element to it that we wouldn't have had. So the whole purpose of the app originally was to have a portal of information. So videos and quizzes and documents and blogs and all sorts of things.
Things that people could use.
Things that people can
on
use
a one-to-one,
on
in their own
for
time.
their mindset, and helping people to see things from different perspectives. And meditations in there, all sorts of things. What School gave us was a community aspect. So every day I post an affirmation. So it's a lovely image with an affirmation on it and then a thought around that affirmation. And that gets posted every morning. And it goes into the community section where people can actually comment on it and like each other's posts and whatever, which we wouldn't have had
if you did
that element if we'd done it through the app.
Yes.
We would have still had the daily affirmations, but wouldn't have had any of the interaction. And that interaction's actually been really good for people and they've loved it. So it's kind of like, we could already say, well, this is good. We've now got something, another dimension to this that we wouldn't have had.
So it's basically giving you a starting point and then other people comment around it, which helps the whole community. Yeah, exactly. It's fantastic.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
So we're like, okay, that's good. So we're then now busy telling people about it and, getting members on board. And Zoe's team are doing the social media and networking and all of that. And then 6 weeks later, Amanda became unwell. She got labyrinthitis, which is horrible.
Yeah.
Horrible thing to get. Laid her low, and I'm like, right, Amanda. And she was trying to push through it. I was like, Amanda, please just take the time because, you need to get well and you won't if you keep pushing. So And that was when I spoke at ZC Live, because she was supposed to be there with me.
Yeah, she was. Yeah, you remember you saying.
Yeah. And then we got to November, and Amanda said to me, right, I'm feeling better. Can we meet up? And we met up, and she told me that she didn't want to carry on with the business.
Oh.
That period that she'd had off had caused her to reevaluate life.
Yeah.
She's like, I don't think this is for me.
Mm.
And I have total respect for that. We all have to do what's right for us. But it did come as a blow. I wasn't expecting it. And it was then that thing of, do I keep going? Do I give it up and walk away? And in that moment, I was like, I really don't know what to do.
But it's such a powerful tool, though, isn't it? You've prepared and put it all together.
Yeah,
and
that was the thing. It's
you've got through all the hard work, all the effort, everything you put into it, and that's just,
Yeah, but it's like, can I do this on my own? From every, from the financial perspective, the business perspective, the, the support, the input, because, we both had input into the content, and it's like, is this dynamic going to change, Because
it's always nice when you've got someone else to push you along, and just like you lift up here, lift up there. It just makes all the difference.
And the thing is, we're all human beings. It doesn't matter what you've learned in life. It doesn't matter what you do. We all have bad days. We all have the imposter syndrome that comes in. We have the things that we have to deal with as part of our human journey, and we need support around us.
We do. Yeah.
And what happened was, I was like, okay, I don't know what I'm going to do. And over the next few days, I had people step up in a way that I never could have envisaged. Zoe's like, of course you've got to keep going. You can do this. And people saying, what can I do to help you? How can I help you with this? What do you need? You can't stop. You've come this far. You can't stop. And so I decided to keep going.
Amazing. Well done.
And I don't know what the future holds with it. I really don't. The thing that where we're at the moment is that the community is there and it's slowly growing. But I had a couple of businesses approach me and say, would you enable us to offer this to our staff as a benefit? And I'm like, that's a good idea. So 2 small businesses, just with a handful of staff, have signed up to it, and their staff have come in. And it started me thinking, is there another way I could be looking at this? And then I went to, I don't know if you know, obviously Breakthrough Women, Susie Warren-Smith. So they run the mini MBA, they have been running, and they do a little mini workshop as a precursor to that. And I went on that in January. And in that conversation, like in that workshop, conversation with Susie, she's like, I think you're missing a trick here, and I think you should be focusing this on small businesses. So I've spent the last 3 months working with Susie and doing loads of research and
amazing,
and looking at whether there is a viable product here. And I think there is. And I'm now at the point where I need an investor because I can't run it from school into businesses. It's not secure and robust enough. It's fine for individuals, but it wouldn't be for businesses. So I do need to start again. So a chunk of money is needed. So I'm currently, I've been working with Susie on my pitch deck and my business plan and all of those things. And I'm now out there saying, anybody who would like to invest in this, please come and talk to me.
But that's the potential. Way. If you don't say and ask,
exactly. And I've got a couple of people that have shown an interest, and we've got meetings coming up and stuff.
Fantastic.
But the thing about it that really excites me is that I'm passionate about helping people to live their best life. I'm also passionate about small businesses and helping them to thrive. And I'm also passionate about helping coaches, because there's some horrendous statistic, and I don't know how true it is, that 85% of people that train to become a coach never do anything with it, never make a business out of it. That to me is shocking.
Because they don't know how to take that next
step. They
don't
know what to do next. And I've coached a few entrepreneurs and new coaches to go through that process. Sorry, Meri, you were about to say something.
No, I smile because you are the second coach sitting here. we had just Rebecca back
Yeah.
in the time.
Yeah.
And probably I'll say the same thing. But before she sat down here, I had a bit different view on the coaches. And she explained us quite well that just because it become far too much, because very often when you open any kind of social media or you start meeting people, very often every second or third person will say that is coach. And sometimes I am absolutely honest.
Yeah.
I was thinking, since when the world needs so
The
many
coaches.
coaches, you know?
Yeah, we're saturated with them.
Yes. But there are two very important points that Rebecca made, and she really changed my mindset.
Mhm.
One was that, unfortunately, there are lots of people who call themselves coaches, but they're not actually. Either they don't have the skills, either they just go and finish a course for 2 days and they say they are coaches. And if people experience something like that, of course, their feedback is straight away, oh, coaches are useless because obviously you fail with something.
Yes.
So this put a bit of like a blame, which is not fair to the people. And the second one is that we all need coaches,
All of us.
but we don't realize. And
No.
she gave us that great example that is still in my head, that if you're an athlete or how you do coach for you've got someone that help with your food, with your sport program, for your mental health, for everything. But in our life, we think like, oh yeah, I can manage everything. I've got my friends. But it's different.
It's very different.
And just chats we had with her, and even today, this is why I don't have what to ask and say, because just listening to you and the way how you present and say the things is exactly the way how you can help. And this is probably the coach skill that they see
Absolutely.
something, they can help you. But I think these are the 2 points that unfortunately we are missing, and probably as well, again, if people are, it is different to find probably a good coach. And again, earlier when you were talking about this company that you found for the app, I'm so difficult to trust someone. I'm so difficult. We had how many different people, businesses or offers for the podcast. And I'm like, absolutely everything I put on, I don't trust, which probably as well is not great. Because you need sometimes to give a chance. And usually Richard is a bit more, let's have a chat with them. I'm like, no, who they are, what they want. No, I always think that someone is having some other purpose
Agenda.
behind.
Yeah.
But if we need to find someone to develop an app, it's going to take a year probably. That would be a nightmare.
But the amazing thing is, it doesn't matter, because the thing is with life coaching, and it's not just, there's different aspects, isn't it? Because some of it's psychology, a little bit. So like getting our mind set in the right place, first of all. So that's like, there's like layers always, isn't
absolutely.
there? And then the second side of it is, okay, so where are you going? What are you trying to achieve?
Yeah.
So you'll get your mindset right, first of all. Then you're laying out your goals and say, right, how are we going to work on those goals?
Yeah.
And then the next thing is, once you've got the goals sorted, it's then how you manifest that into turning that into a business. Yeah. Now, obviously, your experience in terms of starting multiple businesses, as a serial entrepreneur, however you look at it, but you're a serial entrepreneur, you look at it and you go, okay, well, I've set that business, and you know how to do it. You know the structure, you know the difficulties you face, so you know the pitfalls that somebody else is going to have to follow through. And often, as an individual, as a budding entrepreneur, we don't always know, but however we look at it, whether it's a life coach or whether it's a mentor, because often it's a mentor, and you've got. So
I actually consider myself to be a
something.
Cross.
A bit between the two.
A bit between the two. Yeah. Just. It depends on who I'm coaching.
Yeah.
But if I'm coaching a new coach, or I'm coaching someone, a solopreneur, there's always an element of mentorship in there, because, when we train as a coach, you're like, you never give advice, and you never, but actually when you're coaching someone who needs input into what is going to come next for them, and you've got that knowledge and experience and advice you can give them, for me it's crazy to not share it.
But so talking about that, how you think, let's say, is it possible someone being 25, 30 years old, when they don't have that much experience built, could they be as well as good coach as yourself, let's say?
That's a really good question. So
no offense to anyone, it's just a question, because
absolutely.
if I must be honest, I think the experience that you built as well is playing a vital role in your coaching.
Absolutely, it does. And I would totally agree with that. However, there are some exceptions. And I think that comes down to the person. And I mean, I'm going to talk about my daughter here because she is a sales trainer and coach. And she's an old soul. She's got a very wise head on her shoulders. And she's had experiences in her life that she's created since she was 14, going to go work 3 jobs so that she could save up to go travelling. And I don't want to do uni and I'm going to do this. And her school wanted to kick her out because she didn't want to go to uni. She's ended up just recently going back there and running a series of workshops for the 6th form about what do you want to do if you don't want to go to uni, and how you could be successful. And she's 32 now, but she is a brilliant coach.
Yeah, but that's different. Again, you've got quite good background. So, it's
and
obviously
I think what it is
individual.
experience. And also she is a person that wants to learn a load of stuff. And she's learned loads through my life and experience. And the way I've, my approach as a parent was very much in their teenage years of coaching them through life rather than telling them what they had to do.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that's right for everybody, but it was right for me and my kids. And so that they have that, both of my kids have that natural way of working things out and helping other people. So my son's now got his own PT business. So he helps people with their fitness and their nutrition and all of those things. It just comes naturally to them. So I do think you can, but you've got to be a certain type of person to do that.
But I bet they would turn around if they were sitting here now and they'd say, if we asked them, who do you think was your best mentor? I'm sure they're going to say, Mum.
But you see that her daughter actually pushed her to be a coach because she saw her as a coach.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, this is brilliant. But this is about the... And I'm more and more thinking that, I'm going... Because I've got a issue, I don't want to... It's not the right expression used, but my friends are my friends, share good, bad, and etc. But it's my friends can't be. I don't want to use them like every time if I've got something down or I can't use them to go and to.
I think your friends. I'm blessed with some amazing friends, and I love the emotional support that I get from them. Their friendship, the fun we have, all of that. But what I learned through my own coaching journey is I wouldn't be without a coach myself because we don't, it's only once you start into coaching that you actually realise everybody needs a coach. And it's because your friends and your family have a vested interest either in what's good for you or what they think is good for you, which can often be 2 different things.
Yeah, exactly.
Always from their perspective. They bring into those conversations their own fears and limitations. And, my 3 closest friends have all had jobs. They think I'm completely crazy. They're like, what are you doing? What, when I left Citibank, my friend Julie was like, are you mad?
I think a lot of people think that if you go onto an entrepreneurial journey and you walk out of a paid 9 to 5 job or whatever it is, or shift work or whatever it is, and you go off on your own, well, what makes you think you're going to be successful?
Absolutely.
That's what everyone says.
Yeah.
Why can you do that?
It's dangerous. It's like, what if this happens, and what, all the fear mongering. So you can't have those conversations with your friends, because their influence could then really stop you from doing the things that you want to do.
Yeah, exactly.
So, and your family's the same thing. When you work with a coach, they have no vested interest. They are there to help you achieve your full potential. And they only want to help you to be that person you want to be. It's got nothing to do with anybody else. So the journey a coach will take you on is all about you and what you want to where you want to get to. And there's I'm speaking for myself as a coach, there's no judgment. My clients can tell me anything they like and they know it won't go outside of that room. And it takes a while,
of course, until you
build that trust. And then, clients that tell me things that they're like, I've never told anybody this. or I didn't think I would ever be able to say this out loud.
Mm.
Once they do, and that's released and it's out of them, now we can start to move forward. And it's so powerful.
Oh, it sounds like, and I can see how positive impact got to people. But again, you have to have the open mind and to know and to believe. But I think I'm getting on the journey. And obviously, I'm using the gentleman next to me like my mentor. Because obviously, talking about experience, lots of things he can advise, and I would listen, of course. And sometimes I'll be grumpy younger that is fighting against the world.
Pushing against the world.
But it's good to find exactly these people. And as you said, the coach is just there to help you to become the best version of yourself.
The thing is, I think it's
else.
really key, and I think it's the same across everybody. And you said it a few moments ago, is not judging that person. That's the most important thing. Whereas what you tend to find is a family member will go, oh, well, you could do this, but like, of course, in the past, they know like a bit of history,
of course,
and that history distorts everything,
of course.
And once you haven't got that judgment there, and it's absolutely clear, solid advice based on using what you realise about them, about their passion, their knowledge, and their ability, and actually what is pushing them. Because at the end of the day, once they've got a push behind them and they've got a great idea, once you've got a great idea, if you don't pursue that great idea, the idea is useless. So you've got to use that. I mean, and you look at some of the world's best entrepreneurs and how they had the ideas. I mean, whether you start with,
they've been called crazy.
Exactly. I mean, look, Richard Branson, you look at what he achieved. A music label that started off, and then an airline. I mean, like, if we turn around today and says, right, let's go and start an airline,
come on then, let's do it.
I mean, like, everyone's going to YouTube. Well, you three are absolutely nuts. Like, you've never bought an aeroplane in your life. You don't know how to fly one. You don't know how to book it into the airport. You don't know how to fill it with fuel. There's a million things why you shouldn't do it.
You shouldn't do it, absolutely.
But there's one thing that maybe there is why you should do it.
Yeah.
Because you've got that dream and passion.
And we live in 21st century.
And
what's even more interesting for me is, so I do a discovery call. It's a free session before I take a client on. And I do that because I only want to take on people who are coachable and want to be coached, because some people are not. So it's as much of me evaluating whether I think they should be a client as them evaluating me as a coach. And I take them through a very specific process. And I remember one lady that came to me saying, I need some coaching because I do this and I should do this. And people are telling me that I could go there and I could do this. We went through 45 minutes, and at the end of it, she absolutely knew she didn't want to do it.
Right.
Wow.
And she knew what she did want to do. And that literally took 45 minutes. And she said to me, you have just lifted this massive cloud. No, I didn't. I was just sitting there asking her questions. But what I was able to do was open through the questioning process that is coaching, was to get her to see things from a different perspective, understand she'd got choices. And okay, so the whole thing about conscious living, people say to me, what is it? It's about raising your self-awareness, looking at yourself, understanding that there are different perspectives and looking at those different perspectives. When you do that, it opens you up to realizing that you've got choice, because a lot of people don't think they have. When you've got choices, then everything's different, because you then go, what do I want? What do I actually want? Where do I want to be? What do I want to do? Which you can't do before you've gone through that, because you're stuck in your head and you're back here going, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. Can I do this? Can I not? Should I not? Do I trust? Do I not? All of those things. And at the end of it, she never became a client because she didn't need it. She was like, I'm not even going to go down that road. That's everybody else telling me I should do it. And I thought I wanted it and I don't. And actually, I'm going to do this instead, because this is the life I really want.
Yeah.
Now, she never became a client, but she sent 5 clients to me.
Yeah. So the value was,
because she says, there. If you can do that for me in 45 minutes,
help all these people.
And I love that. It's,
that's the ultimate recognition.
And for me, it's not about anything I do. I am just the facilitator to unlock what is currently locked down in a person, so that they can go and achieve what they want.
But that's often the case with a lot of even businesses. I mean, some people would say, well, how do you see your set of achievement? What's your achievement? And actually, it's facilitating other people to achieve their goals. Every business. And I often think that, I mean, as someone who's been selling equipment, everyone thinks, well, your level of achievement is actually because you've sold X amount of equipment over the years. Well, it's sort of, when you look at that and you think to yourself, well, my achievement isn't the sales. That's not what I'm really bothered about.
No.
What I'm interested in is the legacy you leave behind of the products that you've sold, that the difference it's made to that individual business, and that business is being able to develop and grow and be efficient and be sustainable and to be there today in a way that it wasn't there before. And that's one of the most powerful things that people don't often look at.
They don't look at, no.
And a lot of business leaders and MD will look at a group of the staff and look and go, well, okay, their achievements are this, but they don't see the legacy because they're not living with that legacy.
No.
And I think that's one of the most powerful things that actually accelerates people.
So with conscious living, if you end up going the business route, the reason that I feel passionately about that is because offering this tool into businesses for them to give to their staff, there's legislation now. It's a lot, businesses have an obligation for the duty of care legislation, and offering that kind of support to their staff, and they're going through difficult times. Where this has kind of gone is that working with Susie, I've recognised that businesses need this support, and I'm talking about small businesses. There are the big corporates, they know that they've got to do this stuff and they tick those boxes, but the small businesses don't often know that they need to, and they don't know how to. So it's about ticking that duty of care legislation box that businesses have to offer support on a mental health and wellbeing basis to their staff these days.
They do,
And there are businesses that get sued because they don't do that. And the thing with it is once you tick that box, what you're then doing is saying, right, we're supporting our staff, and in supporting our staff through the difficult times that happen in life, that means that staff sickness goes down, your staff retention goes up, your reputation out in the community amongst your customers and future employees goes up, and it has a massive effect on the bottom line of a business, which a lot of businesses don't understand that.
Right.
So for a small investment, you can actually get a 5-to-1 return on investment for every pound that you put into it, in terms of the overall impact it has on your business, which I think is really powerful.
Very powerful,
And the thing with it is we all go through challenges in our lives, our personal lives, that have an impact on our working life. We're not in boxes, are we? Everything's mixed.
No.
So just to give you another example from my own experience, so I told you earlier that I lost my mum in 2020. 2021, I lost my very elderly grandma. 23, I lost my dad. And in 24, I lost my best friend, who I've been friends with since we were 16 years old.
Wow.
And I found that out 3 days before we knew that we'd lost the business, that the app hadn't been created.
Of that, total trauma.
All going on,
at the same time. And I was really heavily involved in Coral's care leading up to the end, and I was with her when she passed. We've just literally, it's been a year, and we were out in Portugal last weekend celebrating her life. 26 of us, and we had the best party ever.
Celebrating her life.
Celebrating her life. It was just amazing. But that's another story. But the point I make is, let's say you've got someone in a business who is going through a difficult divorce, for example. That's going to have an impact on their working day. So within the app, there is not just the content that I've already spoken about, the meditations and the affirmations and the videos and interviews with people. I'd love to have you guys on at some point. All of that kind of stuff. There is also going to be a directory of coaches and other therapists. So if you're going through a difficult divorce, then you can access a divorce coach. Whether you pay for it or the business pays for it, however that looks, that is there for you. So it means that those problems can get people can get the support they need for those problems easily, so that it has less impact on the business. So it helps the people, the individuals you know, live a better life. It helps the businesses, and it also helps the coaches that come in to get more business as well. So for me, the 3 things in life that I'm, you know, business life that I'm really passionate about, I get to tick those boxes,
exactly.
and that's why I feel so passionately about it.
Kathy, that's such a huge step there, and such a great illustration. I think we both found that really helpful, and I'm sure everyone listening today will find it mega helpful. And just
to clarify for everybody, following the link that we're going to share, it's going to take them to that community.
So the Conscious Living app will go to the current membership community that is there, that you can join as on a monthly subscription. So that page takes them there.
You're on social medias as well, because I know that there is a quite good coverage on Instagram with powerful things as well
as LinkedIn.
LinkedIn as well.
LinkedIn's my place to be. I like LinkedIn.
Obviously, and hopefully soon the right people will find you, and
investment will be complete.
The investment would be the great thing to be able to move this forward. I do still do individual coaching, so if anybody is looking for that, they can contact me through the Conscious Living app page as well.
Brilliant.
Perfect. Thank you very
Kathy,
much.
Thank you very much.
Oh, thank you. It's been really fun. Thank you.
No, it's been brilliant. Thank you.
Inspirational a lot.
Exactly.
Thank you.
So hopefully everyone's really enjoyed this morning's episode. We hope you have. If you'd like to follow Kathy, please do. Obviously, the links will be down below underneath the video, so please do have a look. If you've enjoyed today's episode, please do give us a like. We'd really appreciate that. And also, there's a little button there called subscribe. If you're watching multiple videos and you've watched several and you'd like to find out some more and see the next ones when they come live, please do give us a subscribe. It doesn't cost you anything, and it's just dead easy. Last of all, if you're watching on Spotify, please do give us a follow. We hope you've really enjoyed today's episode, and we look forward to seeing you soon. Take care. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.
Bye.